Hey, y'all. I have to ask for forgiveness due to I am having all of the lighting issues today. So I want to say thank you for being patient with me and my lack of professional lighting today. It was either show up on time or have lighting, and I decided to go with you got it, show up on time because it is so important to actually show up. That's pretty critical. So tonight it's time for Growth Groove with Dr. Erica. You know you can find me on Tuesday nights right here. Tuesdays are my big day. It's when I release my podcast, and it's coming out soon. Sometimes you have to give yourself a little grace. And you know how I always say that it's been really busy. Did you see him back in another hotel? And it's just been really, really busy. I've been doing my best to save lives, and sometimes a couple of things, just have to do them just a little bit later. So there will be a podcast that comes out today. I'm really, really excited. I'm really proud of the podcast that's releasing today. But since we're doing Growth Groove with Dr. Erica, I don't want to skip straight from that, but I want to talk about what we're going to talk about tonight. So if you don't know me, I am Dr. Erica, Harvard trained double board certified psychiatrist and integrative lifestyle coach. I am on a mission to help you be better, do better, and live better. I do that through my adult tale psychiatry, my books, including Fix Your Fairy Tale, A Woman's Guide to a Great Life, Love, and Legacy, my speaking, and my podcast, Better with Dr. Erica. I do all that to help people that are busy and givers, and they show up for work, they show up for their friends, they show up for their family, but often don't show up for themselves and may see that it seems like people don't show up for them. So I do all that to help put you back in your life. So thank you so much. I'm so excited about tonight. We are talking about 5 signs that you need mental health treatment. You might be like, Dr. Erica, why are we talking about this? Number one, it is still May, which means it's what? It's Mental Health Awareness Month. I was about to say week, but it is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I want to give a shout out. Thank you so much, Shelby. It's just to give a quick shout out for it being Mental Health Awareness Month. So if there's any time for me to talk about mental health, it's May. So we got mental health all through the May. But today we're talking about 5 signs that you need mental health treatment. You might be like, Dr. Erica, why are you talking about this? Number one, it is probably one of my most frequently asked questions, no matter if I'm talking to patients or if I'm talking to friends, people on the streets, people on the social medias, or if I'm doing a corporate speaking gig. This question comes up all the time. It came up in a few different iterations when I was talking with Becker Polikoff recently. They are great. I highly recommend them. And it's a question most people have because it's a mystery. One of the reasons I think it's a mystery is that we get used to, as they say in good times, scratching and surviving. And when there's a culture of scratching and surviving and not necessarily thriving, it's hard to see when that line is from when you actually have a problem. Because if you're used to scratching and surviving, everyone around you is scratching or surviving, you may not necessarily automatically think that there's something else for you and there's something else for you to do. So I wanted to talk about some of these things that you need to know that might be signals, like a little bat signal that, hey, I might need to see someone. Part of the reason is number one of the things that hurts my heart the most as a psychiatrist is seeing people that have struggled with mental health for days, months, years longer than they needed to, especially since time is a non renewable resource. You can't get it back. So, that period of time where you were ill and possibly could have been doing better, you just lost that time. And I don't want anybody to lose time. I'm a big fan of having really good quality of life. And to me, that's what good mental health gives you. It gives you good quality of life. And as we talk about that life to be better, do better, live better. So let's go ahead and get to it because I'm not going to keep you here all night. So you ready for these 5 signs that you may need mental health treatment? Let's go. Let's do it. Number one is you can't do your work. So I'm going to give you a little framework is that a lot of times you'll see impairment. It's really the big word we use. So levels of impairment or levels of difficulty. How much is or are these things getting in the way? And one domain is work. Because, especially if you're an adult, you may see this, you can almost interchange school if it's a young person. but you can't do your work. You're having difficulty completing it. It's taking longer to do it. You can't seem to organize your task correctly. You're making silly mistakes. You may be forgetting to do things, or it just feels like such a burden, or just so mentally exhausting, just the idea of going to work. So the first one is work. Work's a mess. Next is your relationships suffer. This could be a few different things. One is that you're isolating. You're not, if you live with people, you're not even coming out for meals. You're spending most of your time in your room, or if you have a basement, in the basement. But you're spending time away from people and not socializing. You're not talking to friends. You're not interacting with your coworkers. But it also can be suffering because one of the common symptoms with a lot of things, from everything from depression to anxiety to bipolar to trauma, can be irritability. So it's hard to maintain healthy relationships if just hearing someone's voice or talking to someone gets on your last nerve. So that irritability can actually impact relationships, where either you're isolated, or it's just the relationship just doesn't hold as well because of how you've been feeling. So I really appreciate it. So I want you to just know that you can notice changes in your relationship. Maybe you're starting to have a rocky moment with your significant other, or you and your family just all of a sudden aren't getting along and you used to get along, or that just the sound of your coworker's voice makes you want to slug them. Got it? We're to number 3. I told you we're doing 5, so we're gonna get you in and out. Changes in sleeping or eating. So this one hits a couple of different ways. The reason I said changes, it can be too much or too little. So it could be you're not sleeping hardly at all. And I hear this all the time. Doc, I can't sleep. No matter how tired I am, I can't sleep. And you also hear, hey, doc, I spend all day and all night in the bed. No matter how much I sleep or how much I lay down, I never feel rested. So either a lot of sleep or no sleep. And then changes in eating, where either some people they lose their entire appetite, they're not eating, they start losing weight. The other flip side is sometimes, and we hear about this probably even more, is people eat too much. We always talk about emotional eating, and there's been a lot of emotional eating over the last couple of years of the season of pandemics. Let's see if I can list everything. The pandemic, racial injustice, war, um, women's rights, LGBTQIA rights, violence against Asians. You get the gist. It's been a lot of things. Changes in the economy. It's been a lot of things. So people have been eating. We talked about all the COVID weight, all the emotional eating, but sometimes people will emotionally eat because they're bored, or their appetite is just going up and they can't keep up. So they'll eat too much. So it's sleep a lot more, or don't sleep at all, eat a whole lot, or lose your appetite. You ready? So let's go to number 4. Number 4 is you just don't feel like yourself. And this one I think is extremely important, because you. Who's the expert on you? You are the expert on you. So you don't feel like yourself. You may not be able to put a finger on it. You just know, I don't feel like myself. Something's wrong. And I want you to listen to that voice inside your head, not outside your head. But I want you to listen to that intuition. The next is number 5, which is thoughts of hurting yourself or others. That's one that I think everyone kind of thinks of. And that's the one that gets people in trouble sometimes, because they'll think, I'm not at a point where I need help yet because I'm not suicidal. And from the view of this double board certified Harvard trained psychiatrist, I would much rather take care of you before you get suicidal than after, because we'll be able to get you feeling much better, much faster. And who doesn't want that? But those are some things you'll hear, and those are some things you may get those crisis calls from your family or friends, especially now that people are having so many issues with capacity, and that we've also, just in culture in general, have been able to start having more conversations around mental health. If I just think about all the mental health I've seen I told you I do random TV, so I'm going to list a handful of places where I've seen mental health in creative places. And thanks you all for coming. Is we talked about it. Lone Star 911. They did therapy and EMDR, and they also on regular 911 there is some PTSD and substance abuse treatment on there also. Everyone has heard of A Million Little Things. So they deal with depression and suicide on A Million Little Things. We also have, let's see, This Is Us, Russell's Anxiety, but it's just everywhere. When I watched an Real World, I can't tell you which one I watched. Too many Real Worlds. I shouldn't have watched any of this stuff. It was trash. Because it was just so much unnecessary violence and chaos. They had eating disorders on one set that I watched. Someone also had an anxiety disorder. Just a variety of things. So these are starting to come up to have more conversations. So I think people are feeling safer to have these conversations and let people know they need help. But the other thing is that people's capacity has been tapped so far that people can't act like they're okay anymore. There was a time where everyone would just act okay. People can't act okay anymore. There's just not enough energy for it. So we made it to five. Guess what? I have a bonus. Changes in energy. It's kind of somehow related, but not exactly the same as changes in sleep. Is that people will have changes in their energy level, either feeling exhausted and tired, like there's just no space, or they'll have too much energy, like the Energizer Bunny. No matter if they don't even sleep much, they just have a ton of energy. So we're looking at changes of energy. There's one more bonus, and you don't get a slider for it, and that's just major mood changes. So changes from baseline, like you're feeling really sad or really irritable or really anxious. And that kind of also rolls back into just not feeling like yourself. So if you know someone that needs this, please share. If you know someone else that needs it, you can tag them. Tag and share. Let people know. I want people to have this information. We're talking about Mental Health Awareness Month, and we want everyone to be aware so that we can all have the best mental health possible. Right? So we were talking about, let's see, what were we talking about? See, this is when I've been working too much. I've been doing all of the work. I feel like Michael Jackson, working day and night. But I wanted to talk about these things because I want you to be armed to know when to start looking and not to end up waiting until things become just overwhelming and it's a crisis, because then it's always so much harder, because this system of mental health treatment is a little bit confusing. So to be stuck with this is hard, and there looks like there's a question about where do we turn if you're experiencing these. So I'll let you know where are some of my favorite places real quick. So we talked about tagging and sharing if you want people to know and all that kind of good stuff, which is excellent. Also let me know where you're watching from. But back to this question. So the question is, where do you go if you're feeling these things? So let me give you my top rundown of favorite places to go to get help. Number one, one of my favorites is phone a friend. Talk to people and ask who are they seeing. It's amazing how many people are seeing people. And it's like getting a hair recommendation for a Black woman. That, if you know someone that's seeing someone and they enjoy them, you might too. So first is phone a friend. Number two is Psychology Today has really good listings. You can just search on there for someone in your area. You can also look at Therapy for Black Girls has, I promise I don't have the COVID. I need some water. Darn. Therapyforblackgirls.com. You can call your insurance company to see who is in network. You can also talk to like your primary care or your OB or someone else you see to see who they recommend. The last option is, now there are some of these mental health apps like Talkspace or Cerebral. They can be decent resources. The only thing is some of the models, you don't always have the same person. Sometimes the skill level varies. Some of those services, I think they're great for access. People can chat and they can talk on their phones and it's really easy. The only thing is sometimes the quality It reminds me sometimes of like Massage Envy, that you can go to Massage Envy and you might luck up and find someone that is excellent and that is phenomenal and gives you the best massage of your life. But the average massage therapist at Massage Envy, they're not bad. It's just they're oftentimes not necessarily stellar because those people get recruited out to be at places like the Ritz or a really nice spa or the Four Seasons, St. Regis, other places that are just a little bit more high end. And with some of those, it's just who you're dealing with may be a little different. And some of the platforms don't have as many psychiatrists and have other prescribers. So it's just varying, but that is also an option. So those are some of the places. If you're in crisis, what I'm going to do is I will pop up. You'll see me scroll just a hot second because I do keep it in here. It's just near the, what's the opposite of the tippy top? So, that we also do have the National Suicide Hotline or the National Suicide Lifeline. They're both the same thing. It's just what they decide to call it. And that's 1-800-273-8255 or 1-800-273-TALK. If you go to the suicide prevention lifeline.org website, they also do have a chat, or you can also text 741 You can text the two I probably have people use the most are home. So you just type home into 741 or silence. That's the one that Silence the Shame uses. So those are some resources that you can use. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing is to get help early. And I like people having this information because sometimes it's not you, it's you're supporting someone. You have a family member, a close friend, or even a coworker, and you notice there's a change or something's going on. And I just want you to be prepared and be in the best place because you deserve great mental health. So thank you so much for tuning in again. I'm your host, Dr. Ericka, Harvard trained double board certified psychiatrist and integrative lifestyle coach. I'm irrationally passionate about helping people be better, do better, and live better. I do that with my adult telepsychiatry. Let's see. We might even, as we do this, I might pop the links up if I can find them. I feel like nothing's where I'm looking for it today. There it is. That you can find at askdrgoodwin.com, askdrgoodwin.com. I do it also through my books, including Fix Your Fairy Tale, A Woman's Guide to a Great Life, Love, and Legacy, my speaking, and my podcast, Better with Dr. Ericka. I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy life to spend some quality time with me. I love when I get to spend my Tuesdays with all of you. So thank you so much for doing that for me. And also give yourself a round of applause for showing up for you because at the end of the day, it makes me feel good that you showed up, but you really showed up for you. So I appreciate you showing up for you. I hope this is helpful. If it is, please feel free to share. Let other people know that we're on here. I also talk about some more things. So if you start missing me in between Growth Group with Dr. Ericka, feel free to hop on to my podcast. I will pop up a link if I can find it. I feel like I need to clear some of this out. And this is what happens when I actually need some rest is that you start hearing all this behind the scenes stuff about me trying to find stuff and the fact that scrolling just feels like a lot of effort, and it's a lot of effort to scroll, and I think there it is. There we go. You can find my podcast Better with Dr. Ericka at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, iHeartRadio, all the places, or you can go to the website betterthepodcast.com. I would love for you to check that out too. Today, the episode that's coming out today talks about building a culture of support, and I'm really proud of it. I hope you like it. I'd love to hear what you think about it. But guess what? We've been on for a while. I said I'm not going to keep you here long, so it is my time to go. But I want to encourage you, take your left hand, put it on your right arm, take your left hand, right hand. I feel like we're doing the hokey pokey. Put on your left arm and squeeze. Give yourself a big hug. I know there's a lot going on with the pandemic, and numbers are rising, so we might be physically distancing, but you still deserve some physical touch. Sending lots of love. I can't wait to see you next week, Tuesday at 7. Take care. Bye.